Peace and blessings to everyone. My name is Tim Muhammad. This is Mr. Muhammad's Story Corner. Today I'll be reading you all an original story entitled Aban and Rezul. But first I want to give you guys a little backdrop on the story and how it came to be. Also to mention that there'll be still images and AI images to enhance the storyline of the story. So when my children were younger, I would often ask them about dreams that they had. And my son at the time was about 4 years old, and he told me about a dream that he had where there was a sheep that was underneath the tree laying eggs. And every time one of the egg would hatch, a lamb would come out, and the lamb would stump his foot. And every time it stumped his foot, there would be an earthquake on the planet someplace. I just thought the dream was just a magnificent one. So later on, I reminded him of that when he was in middle school. They had an original story to write as an assignment in seventh grade. And he decided to write a story about the dream that he had. He had also read a book entitled The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. It's a great book. So he took some of the names of the characters from that book and put it in his story. So as a result, I changed some of the names from that and I enhanced the storyline as I read it to you all today. It's a great story, and I hope you all enjoy this story because I love it. Okay, here we go. The story of Aban and Rezul. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Aban. He was the son of King Yusuf, a Moorish philosopher, and his mother, Queen Evzelina, was a popular artist and astrologer, both from the kingdom of the Emirate of Granada in the year 1333. Located in southern Spain, bordered on the south by the Mediterranean Sea, his parents were both well loved by the people of the kingdom. When Aban was a young child, his parents would often tell him wonderful stories about past kingdoms, great kings and queens, and he was always mesmerized by his mother's paintings of far-off galaxies. She would often point out special stars and different constellations and taught him about the rotation of the planets, and his father would teach him how to navigate on land and sea by charting the stars. One of Aban's favorite stories was a story about these two special sheep, as easily identified by the color of their eyes. Each sheep, a male and female, both had one green and one blue eye. Legend has it, the person who would discover these special sheep would be directed by God to lead them to a special place called Obedlam. There the sheep would mate and have a special lamb with God-given powers to perform a specific task. Obedlam was an extraordinarily beautiful place. Everywhere you looked was lush green grass, rare flowers and majestic trees, rolling hills with waterfalls and easy flowing streams and brooks. Full families of singing birds with multiple colored plumage, exquisitely beautiful wild horses roaming the land, and there was abundance of vegetation and exotic fruits and seeds for all the animals and the birds to eat. When Aban became 17 years of age, he had finished high school and all his college courses, and he had learned to speak 4 languages fluently. He was very well educated. Aban had never forgotten the story about the two sheep. All throughout his teenage years, he would have vivid dreams or visions of finding the sheep and leading them to Obedlam. On his 18th birthday, he mentioned to his parents that he was ready to travel the world and explore the different lands and kingdoms so that he could continue his social education and learn the different ways of other peoples. But secretly, he also wanted to find the sheep and lead them to Obedlam. Both his parents, King Yusuf and his mother, Queen Evzelina, they both agreed that he was well prepared and ready to travel the world and continue learning about life, the different kingdoms and cultures. His father gave him a horse, some books to read, and a special tool known as a sextant to read star charts. He also gave him two small pouches, one filled with silver coins and the other with gold coins, to help support him along his journey. The next morning, the family prayed together and he was on his way. Aban visited many cities and kingdoms and learned the different cultures and lifestyles of the people. For 3 years he traveled, all the while searching for the two special sheep. While he was in the city of Jericho, the thought came up in his mind that maybe it was time to stop his search and begin to pursue some of the other goals that he wanted to achieve. Just as this thought came into his mind, a rainbow appeared in the sky without rain, and underneath it there was a moon. He had never seen such a beautiful heavenly display. He instantly knew that this was a sign from God to continue on his mission. So without hesitation, the thought to stop his search was gone, and he was on his way to follow the path of the rainbow. He followed the rainbow on a westerly course until he came upon an old deserted farmhouse with a small lake in the back and a huge date palm tree. As he walked closer to the tree, his heart began to pound with excitement. Laying at the base of the tree were two sheep sleeping in the shade of the huge tree. Aban was so excited he started jumping for joy, shouting, "I found him! I found him!" Over and over again he shouted, "I found him!" until the sheep woke up. As they woke, they were not startled at all by Aban's shouting. They both stood up and gently and calmly, with poise, looked directly at Aban. When Aban saw that each of them had one green and one blue eye, he fell to his knees and began crying tears of joy. While Aban was on his knees, both of the sheep approached him as if they had known them all their lives. They gently placed their heads on each of Aban's shoulders as he was kneeling. And as he kneeled, he prayed to God, thanking him for the inspiration to remain consistent in leading him to these two special sheep. When Aban stood up, he realized that in all of his traveling, that he nor any of the other people of the cities that he had visited knew where Obedlam was. So he sat under the huge date palm tree. He ate a few of the dates, and he began to think, how could he find Obedlam? As he sat there for a while, he became relaxed. He fell asleep with both of the sheep by his side. While he was asleep, he began to dream about how his mother would point out to him the different stars and the planets to him when he was younger. When he woke up, he remembered that his mother had pointed out to him a red and a blue star in the heavens that appeared every 50,000 years. He looked at the sheep, at their blue and their green eyes, and then he realized that this was the clue to the location of Obedlam. He immediately reached into his carrying pouch. He pulled out one of the books that his father gave him. It was a book of star charts that matched the land and sea location with latitude and longitudes. He immediately went into student mode. Opening up the star chart book, pulled out some paper of his pouch and started measuring and matching the location of the red and the blue star to the ground location with the latitude and longitude. When he got his answer, he was amazed, because in many of his dreams, he would always see these numbers, but didn't know what the meaning was. The latitude was 30 degrees by 28 minutes and 3 seconds north. The longitude was 48 degrees by 46 minutes and 22 seconds to the east. This location was on a small island at the mouth of the Tigris and the Euphrates River, where it fed into the Persian Gulf near the city of Aban. It was a 4 or 5 day journey from Jericho. Aban, now filled with a new zeal to continue with his goal to take himself, his horse, and his two special sheep to Obedlam. Then he plotted a course to the location which would get them there within 4 to 5 days. As they traveled, each night they would come upon a town where the people were very courteous and welcoming. The people were always so amazed to see these two special sheep with the different color eyes. The sheep were always poised and had a royal calming disposition. Although Aban had more than enough money to pay for a place to sleep and a place to keep his animals in a barn in every town along the way to Obedlam, the people were always providing him with a free room and board and food. On the 4th day, they arrived in a small fishing town just off the banks of the Persian Gulf. Aban began asking the people where could he rent a boat to take him and his animals to an island called Obedlam. And of course, when he asked the people, they looked at him with confusion. They said there are many islands in the Gulf, but none called Obedlam. So they asked him to describe what was on the island. Aban began to describe the great beauty of the island and the beautiful birds and the rare flowers and the horses. But the people just shrugged their shoulders and said, "We have lived here for many generations. There is no such island in this region of the world." Aban almost believed that the island did not exist. When he looked down, the sheep were looking directly at Aban. Then he remembered how and where God led him to find the sheep with the sign of the moon and a rainbow. He knew then that he had to look for another sign and someone special who could get him there to Obedlam. So he asked, "Is there a place in town where I can go to rest myself and my animals?" They directed him to an inn with a horse stable in the back, about 50 yards west of the boathouse. When Aban arrived at the inn, he left his animals outside. There was an old man inside the inn behind the counter. When Aban approached him, the older man stood up. He looked at Aban, and before Aban could introduce himself, the older man asked him, "Young man, is your name Aban? And do you have two special sheep with you and a horse?" Aban responded, "Yes, sir, I do." "How do you know that, sir?" asked Aban. The older man said, "My name is Qadir. I'm a friend of your mother and your father. I received a letter from them 1 year ago on your 17th birthday, letting me know that you will be arriving here and that you will need my assistance." Aban was shocked and amazed that both of his parents knew that secretly he wanted to go and search for the two special sheep. He paused and started to smile, because at that moment he knew that his mother and his father prepared him as a young child for this purpose. Qadir said, "There's no time to rest today because it is September the 15th. We have to get you and the sheep to the island so that the sheep can mate before September the 17th. This is when the planets will align and the stars will be in position in order to produce the new special lamb." Aban asked Qadir, "May I ask you a question, sir?" Qadir said, "Sure, I'm here to assist you. What is your question?" "I have traveled and visited different lands and kingdoms, and none of the people had ever heard of the island of Obedlam." Qadir said, "Yes, this is because only a handful of people know of its existence. Its location is not on any of the maps. The island of Obedlam is a hidden island within another island, surrounded by mountains and hills. Its existence and location is only known to 12 families around the world, and your father and your mother are one of those families." Qadir asked Aban, "May I have the pouch of gold that your father, King Yusuf, gave you?" He replied, "Yes, sir, but why?" Qadir said, "It is for the payment for the special boat which I have made for you and your animals to travel safely to the island, and also to pay the farmers, who are secretly specially trained guards who guard the entrance of the inner island of Obedlam." When they arrived to the island, they were escorted by boat to a water cave entrance, which led to the waterfall of the hidden island of Aban. When they got on the inner island, Aban could not believe his eyes. This place was so beautiful, more beautiful than his parents described it in the stories. But they wasted no time in letting the sheep onto the island so that they can rest and get comfortable with their new home. The next day, September the 17th, the sheep began to mate. 5 months later, the new special lamb, a black lamb, was born. In the month of February, his name was Rezul. There was a special tree that Rezul, the lamb, liked more than any of the other trees on the island. When the lamb was under this tree, he could feel the vibrations of the earth and the different energies from the stars at night and during the day. When he felt the vibrations from the earth, it caused him to stomp his back legs on the ground under the tree. When he felt the energies from the stars, he would stomp his front legs on the ground under the tree. Rezul somehow knew that when he felt these energies and the vibrations, that it was God causing him to react. Whenever Rezul the lamb stomped his front legs, there would be a flood or a storm somewhere on the earth. And when he stomped his back legs, there would be an earthquake or a tornado. God made this special location to receive the energies of the people on the planet. So as the sins of the people grew and got worse, the stronger the vibrations and the energies became. This made Rezul stomp harder. Rezul knew that at some point that the vibrations and the energies would continue to get stronger, and that it wouldn't be long before he would be stomping all 4 of his legs at the same time. This made Rezul sad, but he also knew that once the sinful people, the enemies of peace and the mischief makers, when their power was destroyed, then he would stomp his feet no more. Rezul would then begin to sing and hum to the different vibrations and the energies that he felt under the tree, and the earth and the land of the people would be healed. There would be peace on the earth, and everywhere you look, there would be a beautiful and peaceful place, just as it is in Aban.